Hello there, my name is Kumar, and welcome to this presentation on overactive bladder syndrome management, a meta-synthesis of qualitative studies evaluating women's perspectives for the development of a core outcomes set. Here is information on my affiliations and funding. This project was done in collaboration with Chorus, who, as you can see, have produced numerous studies into core outcome sets, clinical practice standard and guideline reviews, and rapid reviews into women's health and urogynecology. This project was registered with the Commons Initiative under number 981. Now, for a bit of background, as I'm sure you're all aware of the results of the EPIC study, I just want to highlight how the OAB symptoms experienced by 13% of women aged 18 and above were also associated with low work productivity, unemployment, and decreased sexual activity, the latter of which was later found to be heavily associated with depression in the later systematic review. Now, you may be unaware of what core outcome sets are, and it is important to note that they are developed by initiatives such as the Commons Initiative in order to tackle research waste. Research waste has become a major problem as of late, with up to 85% of all research being wasted. One of the reasons for this is that research needs to be more relevant to patients, and the development of a core outcome set, an agreed set of outcomes that should be measured and reported as a minimum, can help to tackle this. Now, one of the ways to make core outcome sets more patient relevant is by utilizing qualitative research. On its own, qualitative studies can introduce a unique view into patient perspectives. They add a greater context and depth, and they allow for a subjectivity that is currently lacking in research. But a single qualitative study is just too subjective, with a participant pool of 15 to 30 individuals. Therefore, gathering a number of qualitative studies under a meta-synthesis can make their insights more widely applicable. Now, to introduce the meta-synthesis proper, which was done in accordance with the NTREC guideline, here you can see details of the search strategy, which utilized 4 databases as well as hand searches with the search terms as you can see on the right, and was limited to studies written in the English language in order to avoid problems of taxonomy. The included studies were then reviewed independently by 2 researchers. Here you see a PRISMA flowchart of the search strategy with 300 studies shown to be identified from the database and hand searches. 8 studies through exclusion were then utilized in the qualitative synthesis. The synthesis model that was used is the Thematic synthesis model by Thomas and Hardin, which essentially consists of 3 major steps, which are shown here in bold: line-by-line coding of quotes and author interpretations, grouping of codes into descriptive themes, and interpreting descriptive themes into analytical or meta-themes. Here you can see the characteristics of the included studies on the table on the left, and on the table on the right you can see the results of a CASP checklist that was done to assess the quality of the included studies. Each study scored at least 7 out of the 10 criteria, and this was done independently by 2 researchers in line with NTREC guidelines. The first stage of thematic synthesis garnered 56 codes, from which in the second stage of thematic synthesis, 14 descriptive themes were generated. These are on the far right of this hierarchical tree structure, which in of itself subdivides these 14 descriptive themes into 3 major categories. Here you see the 14 descriptive themes again, alongside their meta-themes, which are within the bubbles. Now, the size of the bubbles in this diagram shows how prevalent the meta-theme was across all 8 studies, which, as you can see, desperation was the most prevalent meta-theme. Taken alongside control, another very prevalent meta-theme, one can come to understand a very common sight reported in the qualitative studies, that women had lost control of a vital life function and were incredibly desperate to get it back. Now, another interaction that was very commonly cited what can be understood through the interaction between sensitivity and communication. Women were so sensitive over their overactive bladder syndrome that they became so embarrassed that this hindered their communication with friends, family, and healthcare professionals. But when they did communicate with healthcare professionals, as we see in the meta-theme of transparency, they had their own perspectives of how open the healthcare professional was with information OAB treatment and OAB etiology. Another thing they shared perspectives on was their feelings on how targeted their treatment was on the symptoms that they felt were the most distressing in light of the side effects that they had to endure. Here is just a quick summary. Now, it is important to understand how primary research develops RCTs, which in turn can be utilized to develop systematic reviews and meta-analyses, which are important for forming healthcare guidelines. Core outcome sets fit in by improving the quality of primary research, which can then improve the quality of healthcare guidelines as a whole. But when one takes meta-themes and the insights they garner and supplement them into core outcome set development, one can make a core outcome set much more patient-centered. And not only that, this can make research of a greater quality but more patient-centered, which has the net result of creating healthcare guidelines that are of greater quality and more patient-centered. This can only help patients going forward. In order to actualize this, more qualitative research is needed, and especially in the field of overactive bladder. And qualitative insight, patient insights, can then be used to supplement core outcome set development, and then can be used to improve the quality of research. As you can see on the right from the NTREP guidelines, meta-analyses are becoming increasingly popular, and I hope this serves as an additional motivation to really get invested into qualitative research. Here are the references that were used. Thank you very much.